From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant. It is presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, thoughts, reaction to news of Link Jarrett being named, I think, the 10th head coach in Florida State baseball history, and a recruiting weekend wrap-up from Michael Langston that's already been posted on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, you're just going to get Link. Our show, Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, cptallybar.com. That is the website. Why don't you check them out? Put an order online. Walk in, look around, and be like, wow, I should actually hang out here and eat my food here. I'll do it next time. Corey Clark here, as always. He's part of the Warchant.com family. Promo code Warchant30, thumbs up, all that good sort of stuff. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. In the windy city right now. Not all that windy. Wasn't that windy on Sunday? Not at least at the White Sox game. It was pretty darn hot. But, yeah, having a good time with Stephanie and Brady. Or trying to, anyway. Trying my best.
All right. So Chicago then, huh? Like, what made you guys pick Chicago?
I wanted to go to a place where it was drivable. Right? It's only 11 hours. It's nothing. Well, it's like 15 or 16 from Tallahassee maybe. But from where I was in Atlanta, it was just a short 11. And you get to see two different Major League teams play. Well, four, actually, because you saw we're going to go to the Cubs on Tuesday, and we got to see the White Sox on Sunday. So I just thought it would be cool for Brady and I. And, Stephanie has fun wherever she goes. Yeah. So she had a good time at the White Sox game, too.
I don't know how many shows we'll do this week because, again, Corey's on vacation, but he's stepping away to do work. He stepped away to do work on Friday when Florida State announced that they were going to hire Link Jarrett. So we'll see what we can do this week. I'm also trying to leave town for 4th of July, so we'll see how it all goes. Also, later on, since it is a Monday edition, Corey, we'll let everybody know. Well, I'll let you know as well, first off, that it is a Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week. There aren't any games going on, so maybe we will pick Link Jarrett's best performance at Florida State as our Zaxby's Indescribable. So we'll see what, like, Link's best
Well, how are we going to find that out? You want me to go research during the show?
Yeah, as Nole fan, right? Nole fans probably got like breakdowns, game logs. No,
well, they have box scores, but that's we're going to have to click on. He played 4 years, so he played like 210 games.
Okay.
You want me to click on 200 box scores? I can do that, and you just talk about. You could talk about whatever, man.
Oh, and speaking of Link Jarrett, he will be introduced formally at a press conference at 11:30 on Monday morning. So. Check out the Warchant YouTube page for the replay of the press conference. But check out Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Corey will be live transcribing that interview, even as he joins us, as he said, from Chicago. So we'll have you covered front to back on that. We'll have some reaction on the podcast, probably with Tom filling in on Tuesday. So we got you covered, everybody. But anyhow, let's get to it, Corey. You talked with Jeff and Ira about Link being hired, Link Jarrett, Florida State alumnus, most recently at Notre Dame. Took them to a super regional in 2021, which was last season. 2020, the COVID-shortened season. Obviously, nobody went anywhere. He got hired same cycle as Mike Martin Jr., as most of you are aware. And this past season took Notre Dame to Omaha for the first time in 20 years. Grand slam, home run, hire, missing link. Put in your favorite sort of cliche when it comes to this. Again, I know you shared a lot of your thoughts, so people might want to hear my thoughts, but I doubt it. Anything else kind of standing out to you now as the news has really settled in, the contract details have been released? I think I definitely would have taken the over if you would have told me they signed him for $875,000. I'd be like, no way. They had at least $9.25. What a deal. What a bargain when there's 9 other coaches in the SEC alone that make $1 million or more. And we got this guy for $875,000. Incredible. What an incredible hire. I am excited.
Yeah, it couldn't have worked out better for Florida State. I would say Link is probably, because of what he's done at Notre Dame in 3 years, is probably would be the most coveted head coach in the country. There weren't a ton of jobs open this cycle, but if there were other big boy jobs open besides like Clemson and USC and Florida State, he would have been at the top of the list of any of them, right? Like, what else could you prove as a head coach other than what he did in his 3 years at Notre Dame? But the fact that it worked out where he's probably going to give you a bit of a discount, hometown discount, alma mater discount, Should have hired me 3 years ago discount. Maybe that went in the other direction there, like put on an extra $50 a year for not hiring me back then. But, and that Florida State had an opening. Now, maybe that's not all coincidental that Florida State created the opening and then Link takes the job 2 weeks later. That timing might not be coincidental. I'm not saying they knew for sure that Link would take the job if offered, but they probably had a pretty good idea. And then that he loves Florida State. He wasn't just somebody that cycled through the program. I mean, there's been 1,000 of those, 1,500 guys that have cycled through the program. There aren't many that live in the city, grow up in the city, grow up going to Florida State games, and then start at shortstop for 4 years. So you got like a lifer that just happened to be 50, so he still got a lot of years left in coaching, and that happens to be the most coveted high-profile head coach in the country. So, man, it worked out perfect for Florida State. I think that's why. And I didn't know that they'd have to go to $1 million. But did they double what they were paying Meat?
Yes, more than
doubled annually what they were paying Meat. Which, man, again, Florida State has gotten a bad rap. It's not completely out of left field. But I remember when I tweeted on whenever that was, when Notre Dame finally lost and the season was over. The Link Watch officially begins. And there were multiple people that responded saying Florida State can never afford him. We don't have enough money to afford him. It's like, guys, look at what Alford's done. He paid a lot of money for that Tennessee head coach for soccer. More money than soccer brings in for sure. He gave Lonnie a nice bump. Lonnie makes a lot of money, again, for a sport that doesn't bring in a ton. And now he's paying a baseball coach the most that any baseball coach has ever been paid at Florida State, and one of the highest paid coaches in the ACC, and I'm sure there are going to be incentives that bump it up. Like, Florida State has money to compete at this stuff if they spend wisely, right? And I think we both, like, you don't want to throw away, what do you get, a 7-year deal, 5-year, what do we know, the 7-year deal?
7, yeah.
So 7 years at $850 or whatever it is, I can't do that math, but that's $8 million, $9 million.
Well, it escalates. Like, I think the first 2 or 3 years are $875, and I think it goes to $9.25, and the last year or two is at least he gets to 7 figures. It'll be $1 million.
Okay, so he's making right about probably what, $6.8 million for a 7-year contract. That's a lot of money for a baseball coach. Mm-hmm. But Florida State, Alford is, look, man, Alford didn't do right by Krikorian, clearly. And people were really flummoxed by that. And then Semrau retiring shortly around there, right around there. You're like, okay, man, is he just not cut out for this? The way he handled this baseball job and the way Florida State was able to at least get close competitively to Notre Dame. All right, man, understand Alford wants to win, and he went and got the best guy in the country available to go win, to go run this program. So yeah, man, I think it's a really cool day for Florida State sports fans. You're not second-class citizens. That's what I was trying to stress when I wrote those columns about Link Jarrett and Notre Dame. And it's like, man, Florida State baseball is not a second-class citizen. They get who they want. They got who they wanted. There wasn't anybody else that they wanted. They had one name on their list, and they got him. And I know people will roll their eyes at this. They had one name on their list when they hired Willie Taggart.
Yeah.
Let's hope,
right.
and they got him.
Yep.
Let's hope Link Jarrett's tenure is a little bit better than Taggart's, but man, that's 2 of the 3 big hires they made in the last 5 years, and they got person 1 on the list. Now, was it a good list? If Taggart was number 1 on it, maybe not. You could argue that, but man, they got who they wanted. They didn't have to. It wasn't a long, drawn-out negotiation process. They didn't get played by a coach to get a raise at another school. They got Willie Taggart and they got Link Jarrett. Now let's just hope Link has a longer tenure and much more success.
No pressure, though, right, Link? Or is there pressure? I mean, the dollar figure, I'm not sure how that would factor in for him personally, but, fans looking at it, the 44 years in a row of making it to the tournament, which we take for granted. Obviously, I mean, it's happened 44 times in a row. Why wouldn't you take it for granted? I mean, he's walking into I don't know. It's to me, I feel like it's a good situation if most of these guys stick around. I know the pitching staff is probably going to be completely overhauled. I mean, again, Ross Dunn, I think, is committed to Arizona State. Jackson Mizzou, I think, Louisiana, Lafayette. We're expecting Parker Messick to get drafted and probably leave. But otherwise, man, Tommy White's out there still from North Carolina State, a.k.a. Tommy Tanks. This program has not made it to a super regional the last 2 seasons, so I guess overall, do you think it's a pretty good situation for Link to inherit year 1?
Well, it's going back to the pressure. Again, he's not replacing a legend, is he? So there isn't a ton of pressure that comes with that. And I'm not trying to besmirch Mike Martin Jr., but he ain't Mike Martin Sr. I mean, his dad coached for what, 30? He coached for 40 years, 39 years, and he coached for 2 and barely got in the tournament.
It was 40. So, I think it was like 40 for 40 or something he did. So, yeah, 40. I apologize, everybody.
So when you think about what Link Jarrett is stepping into, there isn't a ton of pressure right now this first season because they barely limped into the tournament. We all saw what that product was. So, again, Mike Martin Jr. took over a team that, while it wasn't very good throughout the year, was a College World Series team. It went to the College World Series in his dad's last year. It went 2 of his dad's last 3 years. It went to the College World Series. And then his team barely got in the tournament and got ousted in 3 games both times. So with that in mind, it's perfect time for Link, right? There are no – I don't think there's a ton of expectations for 2023. Messick's gone. Bryce Hubbard's probably gone. Messick's the only reason you're starting pitching, at least in the first half of the season, was the biggest reason you were anything. So at all. So I think you walk in as Link. Link would rather be walking into a team loaded with great players. But then if it was loaded with great players, he probably wouldn't be at Florida State. Mike Martin Jr. would still be here. This is what happens when you take over a program. It's even a good program, a storied program like Florida State. There are some holes and there are some deficiencies. So from that regard, the pressure standpoint, I don't think there's really any pressure. There's inherent pressure because you're the head coach at Florida State, but any extra pressure. It's just the pressure of being a head Division I college baseball coach. As far as the team itself, yeah, man, he's got some holes to fill. That you've got a number 1 starter and a number 2 starter you've got to fill. They might be on your roster. They might not. We don't know. Got to figure out what to do at the back end of your bullpen. You're losing Scolaro, who, Meat just ran. I mean, look, man, he pitched great his last game, but he had an up and down last season for sure. Got a lot of good arms, but unproven arms. I don't know who your most proven arm is, honestly, coming back
Wyatt
next year.
Crowell, I guess?
Wyatt Crowell, and then Carson Montgomery.
Yeah.
And Montgomery isn't really all that proven.
He's proven, but it hasn't been like great, overwhelmingly positive results. Yeah.
Well, he's proven so far he can be inconsistent. He hasn't proven that he's been very good. But again, I think that name, and I talked to you about this last week or 2 weeks ago when we talked about would it be bad if they won the national title, and I thought no, because I still think he would come, and also, man, that name Link Jarrett is a big name right now. It's a big name. It's one of the biggest names in college baseball coaching. Again, it's a niche market. It's not college football. He's not Jim Harbaugh, although he looks like him.
I saw people talking about that. So you're part of the.
I saw that a post on the message board. I do think
Okay.
when you see him in a hat, he looks like him.
Yeah.
When he takes his hat off, not. But when the hat's on, he kind of looks like him. He favors him. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think that name will resonate. I think that name will resonate certainly in the portal. Because, again, I think if there are guys in the portal, and not just Tommy Tanks from NC State, but other guys, the portal, baseball has always been transfer heavy. Going way back to David Ross, if you guys remember him and what he did to Florida State 25 years ago. He was a transfer from Auburn, or he's a transfer from Florida to Auburn, or vice versa. I don't remember, but he played at both schools. There are going to be a lot of guys. There are going to be probably 3 or 4 big-time players that in the portal that Link Jarrett can go get because of his name and because of the track record. And go look at all he has to do is go say, look at what these guys did before I got to South Bend, and then look what they did after I got there. Wins, no, you can look at the wins, sure, everybody wants to win, but look at what they did to their averages, look at what they did to their ERAs, their fielding percentages. They all got better. And they weren't immensely talented. Now, I don't know if he would talk down about his last team that got him to Omaha, but he could say, look, a lot of these guys are 22, 23 years old. They weren't Major League Baseball prospects, but they became great college baseball hitters. Look what I could do with a team of not great players, but good players. Now, imagine you coming to play for me, and I'm going to turn you into a great college player, but also a Major League Baseball prospect. I think all that can be sold. To win at Notre Dame is like, again, it's like, I can't even think of a comparison. It's like winning
football at Kansas.
There you go. That's good job, Aslan. You're doing it. Or winning football at DePaul. Wouldn't that be something?
Does DePaul even have a football team?
I don't think so, but think about that. Has Notre Dame in the last 20 years? Nobody knows. So yeah, man, I think his name carries a lot of weight. I think what he did at Notre Dame should carry a lot of weight with parents and with high school coaches. I just think it's an absolute home run hire. We'll see how it plays out. I don't expect 2023 to be an incredible turnaround, but I think he has a certain way that he recruits, a certain way he develops players and evaluates players, that he's going to get guys here that make contact. He's going to get guys here that can pick up the ball and throw it to first, and he's going to get guys here that can run the bases. I think that's just part of his DNA, and it's been proven time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, you were really ahead of this, Corey, I think, in making a very salient point early on about the roster that he had at Notre Dame and how it made sense for him to probably bow out after this year because, I mean, these were super seniors and only one guy, I think their third baseman was the only guy that was going to be coming back this next season. But it wasn't like he inherited just this talent-rich sophomore class that, hey, just give the sophomore class time, and then by the time you make it to 2022, you're going to take off and you're going to be cruising. I mean, some of these guys, you know, he played against when he was at Greensboro, and his ace, John Michael Bertrand, was from Furman, and he played against them and had him transfer to Notre Dame. And I mean, that guy went 8-2 last season. You know, had a 3.2 ERA. I think he outdueled Parker Messick both years that he played Florida State. So, I mean, he went and found guys in the portal, and again, it brought them to Notre Dame versus bringing them to Tallahassee. It'll be exciting to see what he can do. Yeah.
It'll also be interesting. I think their best reliever, the kid that pitched against Tennessee and pitched well, Fishman, that Tennessee just couldn't do anything with. It'll be interesting if players like him, and I'm not floating this rumor. Don't start a YouTube video saying, is so-and-so coming to Florida State? I wish I could remember his name. That would have been
Jack
a better
Finley?
joke. Could be. Is he a freshman?
Freshman lefty. I'm looking at the roster. That's who we got.
Yeah, Finley. If you want to start a YouTube video, is Jack Finley coming to Florida State? I can't answer it. I can't tell you if it's happening or not. But that could get the ball rolling. But I'm interested because, again, most of his lineup were seniors. They're not coming back. But he did have a couple, including that kid. That kid was probably the most vital freshman on the team and one of the most important arms on the entire team. What if he wants to come pitch a couple years in front of a real baseball crowd instead of in front of 200 people? Now, you know, Notre Dame, being a Notre Dame student certainly has its advantages for later on in life, but not that Florida State is a podunk school. But top 10 and top 15 public school in the country, right, Aslan? Top 20?
Top 20, yeah.
Yeah, Florida State, yeah. So it's not like that's a horrible degree. It's a really good degree, too. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get, if he even asks, but if any of these kids travel with him to South Bend. Because, again, this kid, Finley, came to Notre Dame to play for Link Jarrett. First year they go to Omaha. He's got to believe wholeheartedly in what that dude's doing. And now he's going to a better baseball program. You get to play in the sun, which is awesome, instead of wiping your windshield with snow. And I tell you another thing, man. I drove through, because you guys know, if I came to Chicago, it was a drive. We drove through basically all of Indiana, stopped in Louisville on Friday night, and then went to Churchill Downs, by the way.
Nice.
And lost some money at Churchill Downs, but it was still fun to go watch the horses. And then after that, we drove up to Chicago through the state of Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
Buddy, those roads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good grief. Stephanie says it's because they ice over all the time and they get snow on them. But it was like, you know when you're on a plane and it's a real hard, bumpy landing?
Yeah.
That's every 40 feet on an Indiana highway. It's you're bumping, your head's hitting the top of the car.
I can
it's
see
crazy.
Link Jarrett now, like, Jack, the interstates. Man, fresh blacktop in Florida.
You won't believe it, Jack. You won't believe it. There's hardly any potholes. It's smooth. You don't have to wear padding on your head so you don't hit the top of your car when you hit one of the big ones. Yeah, so there's a lot of things to sell. Anti-Indiana or pro-Florida, however Link wants to do it. But I would assume when this happens, I mean, you saw Lincoln Riley, he took half his team. So I wonder with Link Jarrett if a couple of those guys from Notre Dame, the younger guys that aren't draft eligible, would follow him. But that's the one. That's the main one you'd want to get for sure.
Yeah, I wonder though. I didn't actually click on the link, but click on the link. But I think Notre Dame posted a video of Link Jarrett and I think maybe Jack Swarbrick, the AD, of Link addressing the team for the final time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were just talking about how classy of a move it was. And I don't know if there's great talent at Memphis, but I know like Mike Norvell has a lot of affinity for Memphis, and he didn't. We think he might try to bring his quarterback Brady White with him, but that was pretty much the only guy that we heard. So there might be kind of like, hey, like I will respect you guys. I won't try to poach anybody on my way out, kind of a thing. But he's a pitcher, and Jamie Bellinger got a job at Clemson, so he's landed on his feet. So that's I don't know what they're going to do with Mike Metcalf, but, you talked about him liking to play for and believing in what Link Jarrett does. Maybe if he brings the pitching coach he had at Notre Dame with him, then that makes things a little bit more palatable. But I'm not going to put my eggs in that basket. I think he'll probably leave that roster alone, just out of respect.
But I mean, I don't think if the kid really wanted to come play for him, you're not going to say no, stay here.
Yeah, no.
But there's a difference between like poaching guys, like coming and say, hey, you want to come with me? You want to come with me? Let's come with me. What are you doing here? Don't stay in India. Like that selling the recruiting pitch that I would have if I was him. Link can go in the complete opposite directions. Like, hey man, I'm here for you. If the guy calls or texts and says, do you want me to, can I come? Is there a spot for me? I can't imagine Link's going to say no. I just think you'd say, well, look, talk it over to your family. I'm not going to pressure you in anything. Notre Dame's a great school and stay here if you want to. But again, those highways, the highways in the snow, in the all of it, man. The just it's South Bend. It's South Bend versus the beautiful Panhandle. Are you kidding me? The beautiful Big Bend.
I'm looking at the bio of his assistant coach, his pitching coach, Chuck Restano. He's been at Notre Dame for 11 years. And
so he predates Link then.
Yeah. He's got a bunch of guys, Irish pitchers in the draft. I don't know any of these guys. But it says
I
Pat
wonder if
Connaughton.
they make him
Patty Connaughton. Pat Connaughton played baseball for the Irish?
He not only did he was like their closer, I think.
Look at that.
Yeah, he threw like in the mid-90s. Like he was a legitimate like early round prospect.
You're not thinking of Shark Samardzija, are you? Thinking of Patty Connaughton?
No, him too. Yeah, no, I remember. I was going to say, I wonder if they will give him the job. If he's been there for 11 years and has developed those guys, I wonder if they would just have him have the job.
Yeah, so something to look at.
But Link should not struggle. Look, when you talk about going and getting a great pitching coach or a really good pitching coach, the fact that you just signed a 7-year deal, that's a lot of comfort for a pitching coach, and a lot of job comfort, knowing that stability, knowing that okay, he's going to be there for 7 years, so we're not going to get fired anytime soon.
Yeah, but if we don't win in the first 2 years, we're probably hosed. But I don't think it'll happen that way. I mean, looking at Link, Link's first 3 years at Greensboro, they were below 500. But then after that, they found their stride. Then again at Notre Dame, he was 11-2 in the COVID season, 34-13 last year. Super regional appearance where they lost to the eventual national champions, Mississippi State. And this past year, they were 41-17. Probably got hosed on not being a top 16 seed, but they still made it to Omaha nonetheless and won a game. So
I will say, not to be Debbie Downer, but the one question you have about Link is, it's recruiting at UNC Greensboro and recruiting at Notre Dame. And again, most of the guys he won with weren't his recruits. Mm-hmm. Now, they were his players. They became his players as soon as he took the job, and he took them to heights they weren't reaching with the previous guy for sure. But it's not like that team was made up of a bunch of sophomore high-profile kids that he went and got, or draft-eligible guys that he went and got. Like, these were guys that were in the system, in the program when he got there, the majority of them. So you still wonder, okay, the high school recruiting, and maybe that's not even a big deal anymore in College Bay. I don't know. The portal has changed everything. But he has not proven yet, and that's not to say that he can't, obviously. He really hasn't had a chance. Recruiting at UNC Greensboro and recruiting at Notre Dame and recruiting at Florida State are three completely different sports. But he has not proven yet that he can go get those big fish.
Right.
But he also hasn't had a chance. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's been a disappointment recruiting. He just hasn't had a chance. So he's going to get a chance now. That's the one question mark, right? He can develop players, and he can win, and his players are going to play fundamentally sound. Can he go get the big fish? Can he go fight off Auburn and Florida and Georgia or wherever they go, Miami, and go win some recruiting battles in the state of Florida?
I'm less concerned about that. I mean, I think, again, what he's accomplished, what this program is, speaks for itself. I think he'll be fine on that. My only sort of concern, just if we have to just pick at something, I mean, because, again, there's nothing to dislike about this hire. There really isn't. I mean, the only thing I could think of is, it's kind of like what Mike Norvell or Willie was dealing with at Western Kentucky or Norvell at Memphis, where like these kids are just so appreciative of the opportunity to play football somewhere like a Memphis, because you're getting kids from Tennessee that aren't getting looks from SEC schools, and then their other offers like Ball State or Bowling Green. It's like, well, I could go play at Memphis. That's pretty cool. Is that like the kids are going to have to get on the competitive ball circuit like that are from the suburbs of Florida. Like, I think there's a little bit of like a diva mentality. I don't know if there's lunch pail blue collar as guys from, Berkeley Heights, Jersey, or Wakefield, Massachusetts, or
how
who knows?
dare you?
Who knows?
How
They
dare you,
They might be
Aslan.
really.
That's your state. That's your
well,
home state you're
I
talking
know.
about.
I'm around these people. I am of them. But I don't know. Those suburbs outside of major towns and the tri-state area in the Northeast might be just as affluent and diva-esque or whatever. But again, I don't think it'll be a problem. I mean, he's going to get guys in the portal, and I think the people that will stay here are obviously going to want to stay and be part of the program and will buy into his vision. Let's get all I want for year one. Just make it to the tournament again. Just get the record. Just you don't have to make it to Omaha next year. If you do, awesome, cool, bonus. Just let's keep this streak alive, because if for some reason you were to lose that streak in year one, that just all the momentum is gone. But I don't see that happening.
I don't. Yeah, I don't either. It's just I think that's the one thing that still has yet to be proven. He's proven he can turn around a program, 2 programs, and he can turn one into a consistent winner, and then he can turn another into an Omaha team. So he's already proven that. It's just that, again, with the Notre Dame kids, it was guys that he didn't bring onto the roster necessarily, most of those guys. Although, like you said, the guy from Furman. So he certainly has an eye for talent. He can really develop. Let's just see. You pattern that, couple that with getting better players, and that's a great recipe, because we know he's a good baseball coach, clearly. A good head coach, but if he can marry that with being a really good recruiter, man, sky's the limit, baby. Sky is the limit. We won't have to be watching Ole Miss and Oklahoma play for a national championship. It'll be like the Link Invitational. That's where they're gonna start calling the thing. It'll be an upset if they don't win the national championship every year.
Pull the kid from Berkeley. That was a grad student. He's got on him. He got it figured out. Let's figure out our Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week right after this.
The clutch shot, the biggest hits. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good
Player of the Week.
You heard the man. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week, and let's showcase the new head baseball coach, Link Jarrett, and pick out his most indescribably good performance of the week in his tenure, 91-94 at Florida State. How about April 9th, 1993? Lincoln Roscoe Jarrett, that's the name on his birth certificate apparently, goes a perfect 3 for 3 at the dish, also draws 2 walks. We like that. And then in the field, Corey, 6 balls come his way, not a problem. Fields them cleanly, gets the put out. 6 for 6 in the field as well. He had a double, crossed the plate twice. It was a 7-0 victory for the Noles over Miami. And what about you, Corey?
Shout out to Paul Wilson, by the way, for the complete game shutout. But guess what, Paul? You're not the head coach.
Nope.
So we're not doing your indescribably good players of the week. You had a lot of them too. I'm going to go completely on a different path, Aslan. I haven't told you about this. We're not usually this show, but the thing that happened in Uvalde, whenever that was, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, one of the most horrific moments in our country's history. The police response to that is still maybe the most infuriating things I've ever read. So in this instance, Aslan, I know you're wondering where we're going with this.
Yeah, I am.
I want to shout out to the 2014 Florida State Police Department. Because, folks, if you don't remember, and there might be some of you that don't remember this because this wasn't a famous incident, there was a shooting at the Strozier Library right around midnight in November of 2014. Shots were fired at 12:25 a.m. The shooter was dead at 12:27 a.m. That's 3 people were shot total, other than the shooter. Nobody died. You want to talk about a police reaction that we can be proud of?
Okay.
FSU PD, man. And anyway, I won't even get into what happened in Texas, but that's infuriating. But shout out to those guys. That is an unbelievable response time. It's hard to fathom. I don't know where the FSU Police Department is near Strozier. Do you?
No, they're not. They're on Woodward, and you'd have to completely, there's no easy, you can't cut through to Strozier.
So I'm guessing they weren't on the phone saying, can I get all this? I need a bunch of backup and a bunch of rifles, and can I get some blockades so I'm not like they just went in with an active shooter and dropped them in about 90 seconds. All of us, including Zaxby's, has to be happy about that, man. Because that was a horrific night for some people. And they made it much less horrific because they dropped that dude in 100 seconds. So that's my indescribably good player of the week. I like Link, too. 3 for 3 is a big day.
Okay, we went back to 1993 and 2014 for our Zaxby's Indescribably Good Performances of the Week. one on campus, the other one at a ballpark on campus.
Right.
One a little bit more important than the other. Zaxby's Indescribably Good. Those are our picks.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.